I'm Alisha Taylor with Alisha Taylor Interiors, a full-service luxury interior design firm in Old Town Scottsdale.
Matt Segerstrom, Modern Splendor Homes, custom home builder and remodels.
I'm Nick Peterson. I'm a designer with Cosan Studio Architects here in Scottsdale, Arizona.
So, we get asked all the time in our world, how much does it cost to build a custom home? How do you politely answer this question to a client? And we're assuming they're coming in off the street, no plans, no lot, no builder, or for your no architect yet. I know my quick answer is, I don't know, let's figure it out. But how do you answer that question? How much is it gonna cost?
Yeah, I think my answer is very similar, Alicia. It is, we have a lot of work to do to get to a price. And that starts with assembling a team that you can trust to ultimately find the price that your home's going to cost to build.
Yeah. And Nick, what do you guys, on the architectural level, what do you tell the clients?
Yeah, again, it's a really tough question to answer. I think you're right. I think just assembling the correct team, understanding their vision and square footage, all that kind of stuff up front can help kind of steer things into the ballpark where they want to be.
Yeah.
And find that sweet spot.
And we've seen houses here in the valley, in the Scottsdale area, in the greater Scottsdale area, can range from $450 a square foot all the way above $1,000 a square foot. So that is it's all up to the client. So yes, we get that asked all the time, don't we?
Yeah.
Who do you hire first? If a client or potential or someone asks you, they want a dream home, where do they start and who do they hire?
I'll
let you start, Rand.
Okay. I think they start with me, so I can tell them who to hire. Yeah, ultimately, they need an architect and they need a design firm because I really can't give them any information until we start assembling all that. And so usually it's just me giving them examples of homes I've built with different teams I've worked with and price ranges to start assembling that team. So I would say architect and designer.
Okay.
I agree 100%. Hire an architect, hire somebody that you trust, but definitely start with the architect first.
Yeah, and that's what we see here in Arizona. We get clients first. I know you've gotten inquiries before they even have a set of plans. And we always encourage them to hire an architect. But literally the very, very next step is builder and designer. Before the plans are complete, while there's still an idea on a napkin, you should have your team assembled. So not everyone gets the experience of building a luxury custom home. And so I encourage my clients to always keep that perspective and to make sure that it doesn't get very stressful. Everyone has a horror story that they've heard from the sister or the girlfriend about building a custom home. So how do you, Nick, I'll start with you, from the paper stage and the architectural phase, how do you help clients not get so stressed out?
Well, I think that's a good question. It can be really stressful, but if you're building a custom home, likely you've saved and it's been on your radar, it's been something you've been wanting to do forever, and you finally reached that point. So first, congratulations if you're able to build a custom home. That's awesome. But I think just kind of managing your expectations, and I think really forming a good team right off the bat, like being really comfortable, familiar with your architect, designer, and their team, I think can alleviate a lot of headaches and stress down the road. So I think in having that line of communication open, I think is really important.
Yeah, from the architecture standpoint that Nick does, and I do design work on paper, in my mind, compared to what the builder does, is easy when it comes to stress with the clients. So when you're actually in the field and things get stressful, what are some things that you do to help the client get through that?
Yeah, I really think it starts in the beginning with setting the expectation. And so I spend a lot of time up front with my clients, making sure I'm the right builder for them and they're the right client for me. Because I explain it as, I tell them I'd like them to come in and interview me because I'd like to interview them as well. And I really mean that like from the bottom of my heart, because we're gonna have like a 3, 4, 5-year relationship from the time we go through planning to building to a warranty period. And so I think if there's just a really good expectation set in the beginning, that lessens the stress during the build. And then during the build, it's just reassuring them that we've been here before and you'll get through it. We do know what we're doing, and that's why you hired us. And remember that.
Mm-hmm.
And in the end, it's going to be beautiful, just like all the pictures you see on the reason you picked us.
Yes, yes. So it's more hang tight, get through the process, and enjoy the process.
Yeah.
Not everyone gets to do this, so it's definitely a luxury and something very special.
Can I add something to that?
Yeah.
I just think that if you hire a professional, you know, if you're to hire a doctor or hire someone that is very specialized, like an accountant or something like that, you really should trust them, right? So, like you said, Matt, I think you're right on. If you choose somebody and you feel comfortable with them, really trust them along the process, and that can help kind of
Yes.
alleviate some of that stress.
Well,
as
and
well.
lean, I think a lot of times the mistakes happen and the stress comes when the clients don't lean on their professionals.
Mhm.
They're making their own decisions.
Yeah.
They think they know more.
Yeah.
And really at the end of the day, it all falls back to those professionals. And we do this day in and day out. And so that's where we've got a lot of advice and help that we can offer. So yeah, great point. So we get asked, always in addition to cost, seems to be the first question. The second question is, how long? I want to be in by next Christmas. So I know when we get asked it, we tell clients it's a lot of the time frame is driven upon them. Do they approve plans? Do they make decisions quickly? But even from them, the lot, the builds, there's a lot of components that go into it. We're seeing new builds go up in 18 months. That's also from the time you have plans, so Nick can attest to how long that can take. To builds taking 3 years. So when a client asks you, how long is this going to take? Should I plan Thanksgiving at the new house next year? What's a good answer for how long?
Yeah, the answer really comes down to how much information we have at that point, because not only the build of the house, but the lot that the house sits on can have a big impact on how long your build's going to take. Obviously, I think everybody knows that we have to have building plans, we have to have permits. So I'm happy to share my estimations of time, but I tell them it really factors in with what all the plan sets come back to on both site work as well as the home. And to your point, we have projects that homes we built in 13 months in the last year, and some that have taken 2.5 years.
Yep.
Every project is different. So, you know, depending on where you're building, if it's a flat lot versus a hillside lot versus a lot that's in an HOA versus a lot that's county versus city, there's so much that goes into it. So really, again, hiring a professional that can understand your piece of property, and really even to back up, hire an architect when you're looking for a lot. Have them go on out on the site with you. It's amazing how many times like we'll go out on the site and they're like, oh, it's pretty flat, right? And you're like, there's like 10 feet of slope here that you're just not seeing and understanding. But yeah, I think really understanding the site is first and kind of paramount, and then understanding if you purchase this property, what that entails. HOA, city, hillside, NAOS, there's so many layers that can potentially push a time frame off, or may delay a project if you don't understand what's involved in the process.
Yeah, and it is a commitment and it's years, I say, is what we tell any potential clients. And so a lot of, when I have someone ask me, hey, I'm going to build in the next 5 years, I'm like, oh, well, get started.
Yeah.
Do you normally have a client come to you with the lot already chosen or where they want to move to, or do you help them find their dream home area?
I think I'm going to let Nick answer this one because it is very more architecturally driven.
It varies. Again, sometimes someone will already have a piece of property that they fell in love with, and they come to us and say, hey, here's their piece of property. What can we do with this piece of property? Where other clients are maybe more informed, will say, hey, come with me. I'm looking at this lot and this lot, and let me get your thoughts. And we recommend, if that's possible, if you don't already own a lot, to come approach us. We're happy to come check things out, walk the lot, look at what, if there's any crazy easements or stipulations on the property that could affect what you can do on that piece of property. We recommend definitely approaching us early on before you purchase a lot.
And I've heard that. I've run into scenarios where a client bought a unbuildable lot.
Yeah, it happens.
And so before any money is put down on a lot, have a professional architect look at it.
Yeah.
There are a lot more. A real estate agent will sell you any piece of dirt. A good real estate agent will educate you. But that's not always the case, and sometimes they don't know. There's a lot of things they can't pick up on. And so before you buy a lot, that's the best way to do it. If you've already purchased it, then get that architect looking at that piece of dirt right away.
How do budget and allowances work with a new build, and how do I know what goes into it?
So I'll start off as a designer. We're always trying to work with the builder to understand the allowances. A lot of them are just placeholders. So before a design comes, those numbers are usually placeholders and they continue to be defined. I've worked with Matt on a lot of projects, Matt from Modern Splendor, and they do a phenomenal job with allowances and pre-construction. So kind of how do you guys navigate that?
Yeah, that's a great question, and it's one of the toughest parts for me as the builder in the beginning, because I'm guessing a little bit of what your words as the customer and client mean as they relate to a budget. And so the best way that I have to try to get in the right price realm and allowance is to look at previous projects that either I've done or the designers that we're working with have done and say, do you like this? Yes, I love that kitchen. I love that bathroom. Okay, on that particular bathroom, we spent $15 a square foot on tile. And so that's really my basis in the beginning. And a lot of times, I've learned that depending on the price point of the home isn't necessarily that percentage of that category related to the cost of the home doesn't always convey in a custom home. It moves. And the whole concept of a custom home is everyone's different. And so it's not really, you can't quantify it every time it's going to be at this point. But that's the best way I have to start.
Yeah, and I would say the most expensive line item that we see is as far as finishes, which the client actually, people see and appreciate. Not talking about concrete framing and that kind of thing. But finishes is cabinetry, and many times people do not leave themselves enough, or builders haven't allocated enough in cabinetry. And then I would say the next one is tile, flooring, and there's a big difference between a $4 a square foot tile and a $12 a square foot tile. A big difference on the budget and a big difference in how it looks. So to your question, it's constantly evolving and changing, but a good professional can look at a preliminary budget and gauge from there.
I think it's a little overwhelming as a client to start to build a home because there's so many options. So is it better to come to you with our preconceived ideas of what we want, even though probably way over budget, or is it better to come to you before we've even started to do any design in our minds?
I would say the very first step is put your team together. If you know and you feel like in the ballpark range you're ready to build a custom home, then hire your team, and the best thing to do is be transparent and honest about your budget and what your expectations are as a client, because you're going to get a huge amount of education, but if you're not being transparent and honest, because budget is usually the driver, let's just be honest. If you expect a build to cost $5 million versus $2 million, all of us here can probably do both projects, but the expectations, the design, the finishes, the construction, all of that's going to be wildly different. And so it's be very, very transparent with what you like, collect Pinterest pictures, have a little file tucked away, and then be transparent about how much you have. There is no magic wand about, oh, I shouldn't tell my builder I really have more, or I've got the means. Like, we're here to work for you and be smart with your money. Our goal is not to spend all of it if you don't want to. So, but that's where I think people get caught up and don't know how to navigate those first few steps. And you're going to be headed in the right direction the more honest a client can be. So get your team and then be transparent. What would you kind of guide a client on where do they begin?
Yeah, I would echo what you said, Alicia. I think to answer your question, yeah, I think it's a good idea to put together your dreams and ideas without holding back in the beginning. And then if you come to us and say, hey, I really love everything about this home and all these pictures, but I have a $3 million budget, then I think it's the architect's job, the designer's job, the builder's job to tell you, okay, that's probably a $5 million home. However, we can get something very similar, and here's some of the things that are driving the cost on this particular home to get you to your desired budget.
Yeah, I just recommend the same thing. So I think having precedent images, just an idea board or mood board or whatever it is, just some general thoughts and ideas that you can approach a designer with can help you kind of formalize a vision. And I think once that vision is kind of understood and that you're able to communicate that vision, I think sticking to that vision and really trusting the designer to carry it through is really important. But I think having some general ideas of where you want to end up is a good starting point.
Yeah, and that's, we know our profession. We tell our clients it's their job to know their wallet. Like, we can be the experts on everything else. I can't be an expert on someone else's wallet and how they value things. So that's where we really ask for some honesty and transparency.
How often should a client expect to meet with all three of you, or separately?
Yeah, well, it usually starts with architecture.
Yeah, so typically we have kind of a kickoff meeting, introduce ourselves and, kind of understand the client and their vision. And so yeah, just kind of that initial introductions really. And then when we understand their vision, we'll have another meeting, kind of sketching out programmatic elements. So getting a rough idea of kind of what they want on paper and start to put like square footages and sizes for rooms and all that together. So I guess that'll be the second meeting, and then we'll do kind of a massing meeting. So we'll actually draw everything up once we have like a floor plan roughly kind of working. We'll show them kind of a 3D model that's pretty detailed out.
Mm-hmm.
We can walk through the model with the clients. And then once we have kind of sign off on that, we really start to get into whatever the next step is, depending on the municipality, but really finish up like a DD set and getting consultants going, and then eventually into CD. So really there's probably 3 or 4 meetings like on a project where everything like is just like good to go, it's flowing, we're on the same page. So yeah, I'd say like 3 or 4 meetings initially, and then just depending on what else needs to happen, we'll have meetings with interiors along the way.
Yep, I was saying we kind of come in there kind of in that process.
Yep.
So a lot of times as a design firm, we will attend some of those meetings so that we understand how the house is developing, make sure it's working from the interior standpoint,
Yep.
just so that when we're doing changes, it's very well planned and we're not going back as much, after the fact. And then for interiors, we break it up in, depending on how big the house is, I would say it's usually about a meeting per 1,000 square feet. So if you're building a 5,000 square foot house, it turns out to be about 5 meetings over the course of about 4 to 5 months. So the idea is they're not meeting with the professionals on the planning phase a ton. It's not a huge time commitment from the client. We want you to go work, live your life, let the professionals worry about it, and then come for really meaty, good presentations where you make decisions. That's the best way to do it, and where a lot of our clients love the process. And then when it gets turned over to the build,
I wish my numbers were that low.
I know.
We have lots of meetings. I like to be involved in the upfront pre-construction planning as early as I can be. It helps.
Or- yeah.
Yeah, with architect, with designer, it helps me wrap my head around details that are going to be going into the home. The sooner I can get involved in that, the better. And then it allows me to start putting together my data and information that I need to be able to present to the client once we have it all of real numbers, real schedules. Because with that information, that's how we can put together our actual build package, schedule, and timeline. So once we get into construction, we use a software called CoConstruct. It's a project management software that our clients have a client portal to. So they get to log into their project and they see all the documents live that our project managers are working with and out of, from selections to design materials to plans to budget to actual expenses. Every piece of their project is in that. So we try to keep that as updated on a daily basis as we can. And then our project managers send out a weekly update to their clients on their project within that. So there's still meetings on site, there's still meetings in the office in between all of that, but ours is kind of fluid.
And I would say it's really client preference.
Yes.
We have clients, especially our out-of-state clients, or maybe just busier professionals in town that don't really want to be dropping by the job site every week or checking in. And so they ask either the architect some questions or you answer the builder questions. We answer a lot of the questions and the clients have no idea that a lot is going on behind the scenes. And so I would say some of the clients don't really need to be there.
No, if we do our job as the team and we have the right team in place in the beginning, it really minimizes how much interaction the client needs during construction.
Yeah, so I'd say a handful of meetings, 3 to 5 with an architect, 5 and up, depending on the size of the house, with a designer. And then from there, it's really client driven. How involved do they want to be? Do they enjoy it? Or do they want all the professionals to answer the questions? Don't bug them about what inch you want and what thickness of glass is on their shower doors. Let everyone else make those decisions and move forward. So it's very client driven.
Awesome.
I failed to mention, but I think one of those important meetings that always takes place in our office is kind of that pre-construction meeting where we bring interiors in, where we bring a contractor in, and we'll walk them through the model. So they get a whole 3D view. It's rendered out with rough idea of materials, right?
Yep.
And really, Scott does a great job of understanding where the client wants to be budgetarily and kind of their desire, but also kind of, their vision and what they want the house to look like. And we kind of walk through that and ask the contractor, ballpark wise, is this a $300 a square foot home or is this a $1,000 square foot home? So we kind of gauge kind of where we are early on, because it's not fun to think you're building a 300 square foot home, square foot home, and then realize by the time we're done with construction documents we're way over budget. So I think having that open discussion, bringing you in early, getting your eyes on it, and interiors is so important because those materials can, depending on what you choose, can really blow a budget
It can double the cost of the house. Same
very
plans,
quickly.
same floor plan, same lot, same house.
Yeah.
You can double a build budget just with finishes.
Yeah,
And so
absolutely.
understanding that. So any type of kickoff meetings, team meetings are really, really important. There's a lot more to them than kind of what it looks like.
Yeah.
Yeah.